Alright, so here we are. I don't have necessarily my microphone ready to go, so forgive the poor audio quality. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and click on Manage Website. Now, if you remember from the last video, we went to Tools, we went to Database Manager, and we created a database. And here it is. Here's the name of our database. In this video, we're going to take a look at starting to access this database and creating a form to go back and forth. So I'm going to click Manage and then PHP My Admin, just so we have that ready to go. Here's the database we're going to be working with. So you can see I click on that. I click on Video Game here for the table name. If I click on Structure, I can see what's inside of that. You can see we have an ID, a title, a price. We'd like to connect these to forms. So let's take a look at doing this as quickly and easily as possible. So I'm going to pause this and just switch back over. Well, actually, I can just click over here. I'm going to close this out, the advertisement. And let's go back to Home here and build a website. And I want to use File Manager. So for now, I'm not going to be using any sort of custom or template like a WordPress or whatever, because I think if you're going to be a web developer, it's generally a good idea to show examples of actual code that you're writing up to any level. So I love coding, I love art, so I spend a great deal of time of my free time just doing this kind of stuff. So here we are. Here's our index, our template. And something else you can do is, like I said, you can actually drag items into this program, into this, like using Visual Studio Code or some other editor, which would actually provide you with more options than just copying and pasting, right? So in the next video, we'll probably do write some code in Visual Studio Code. But for now, here's our home page. So let's start off by looking at first, how do we insert an image? Something simple like that. Well, let's say I don't know the code for that. Well, I can type in HTML insert an image, right? And if I look here, here's my trusted W3 schools, and it gives me this code right here. It says image source equals pic Trulia JPEG Italian Trulia, right? So that's this thing right here. Well, I'm going to copy that. And they actually show you more, a little bit. If you click on Try It Yourself, you can actually see the way they embed it, right? So here they just embedded it right into the page. And then they have a paragraph tag here where it says P alternate attribute. So if I go back into here and I say, okay, this is a paragraph. So I can say, like picture of my most recent trip. Now, mind you, I'm sort of teaching you a little bit of HTML as we go along with this, right? So I'm going to click Save. And then we're kind of like, so I'm going to copy this, right? Now, ideally, if you know nothing about coding at all, this method I'm showing you is not going to do you that great of a service, because you're going to, you should really learn, like, what is IMG? Well, that means image. The source, well, that equals this. But for example, I'm going to show you in a second how we're going to get an error, or we're going to make our image not appear on the page because of lack of reading documentation or understanding. So actually, let's go ahead and let's start off with this one. So image source China. So I'm going to copy this, go back into my file hosting. I'm just going to drag and shift this over. I'm going to paste this here, right? Now, this says image source image China.jpg alternate flowers. Let's save and close that, right? Okay, inside of here, I need to have a folder, right? So I'm going to go to new folder, right? So let's go over here, new folder, and I'm going to name this folder images, right? Sometimes you'll have it where if you're going to have videos on your site, you'd have a folder called media, and then let's give that a second to catch up. Okay, I just had to refresh the page. That was a little weird. So inside of the media folder, I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to call this images. Okay. Now, let's find that image again. So here we are. here's the image of the chinia. So I'm going to save image as, and I'm going to save that to my desktop. Okay. And actually, it looks like on my desktop I had an image of some of the artwork that I'm doing for another tutorial. So maybe I'll just use that, right? So here's digital sculpting. Here's a picture of a character model that I have. So I'm just going to name this Frank because it's a Frankenstein model. So I think this might be a little bit more interesting. So let's go back in here because I want to host this. Let's close that out. And let's go to media. Let's go back here. And I'm going to edit my index page. And I'm just going to name this Frank. And I'm going to save and close that. And let's just make sure that that image on my desktop is a JPG, which it is. And is my extension JPG? Yep. So let's hit save. And then in my media images folder, I'm going to drag Frank in here. And I'm going to hit upload. Okay. Now when I go back here and I right click on index and I hit view, because this is my home page, notice it's broken. The flowers and chinia is broken. And I'm like, wait, why? I wrote Frank, right? I wrote the name Frank inside of my index file, right? So I click on that and it says, okay. Well, what you want to do, if you read the documentation, you'll slowly start to see that you need to do images. You have to get all the way to the point of images in another folder. So if I had the Frank file out here, let's see what happens. So upload. Let me refresh this. You'll see my Frank image appears. Okay, this is on my website. Well, if I go back over here, I don't want all of my files in one big folder. That's very bad. So I'm going to click on this Frank, and I'm just going to junk this. I don't really want this here because I have it located in a folder called media. So let's try this. This might be another way of doing it. So let's go media. So I have a folder in my directory called media /images / and let's save that and let's refresh this. And you can see here it is. And if I right click on this, let's see if I can bring up the path of this. I guess I can't. But now you can see that it's embedded there. And what I'm using is that path. Okay. So let's take a look at making really quickly. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, you know what, I'd like to make a menu, right? Just a simple hypertext, right? So here I'm going to look through this. I'm like, here's some links. This should be interesting. This is a link to a URL, and this is a link to a W3 Schools page. This is cool. HTML images.asp. Okay, this might be what I'm looking for, right? So let's go ahead and copy this. And if I look at try myself, I could see, okay, they just pasted this in a page. Ordinarily, you'd create a list or something like that. And we'll get into styling the page with CSS and stuff later. So I don't necessarily want this on this page. So I'm going to actually, I'm actually going to comment this out and copy and paste it later because I do want this, right? And so let's go ahead and let's look at that like, well, what's a comment, right? So we look up here and we're like, what does a comment look like? Well, notice right off the bat, I forgot an exclamation point. So if I look back on my site, I'm like, if I, it's like, well, there's that and 2 slashes. Okay, so 2 slashes. Boom. There's my comment. Now it turned green. And that means that we can't use this line of text. All right, so let's take a look really quick at creating one link. So here's a hypertext reference link to something called HTML images.asp. Well, what I want to do is I want to create a form, right, that I can connect to for my database. So I'm going to make a page called contact. And I know it's actually going to be an HTML page. So contact.html. And it's going to be in click to contact our team. Now, ordinarily this would be in the top, you'd have a banner up there, but I'm just kind of looking at this. This hypertext reference to this contact.html page. Now, I'm going to copy this because I don't actually have this yet made. So I'm going to hit save and close. And then outside of here, I'm going to right click, or I'm sorry, I'm going to click a new file, and I'm just going to paste that contact.html, and I'm going to create that. And now you'll see I have an index and I have a contact.html. So if I go in here and I refresh this, you'll see click to contact our team, and I clicked on it, and I'm on that contact.html page, right? So let's take a look at forms. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to say, well, what can I do for forms? Well, here's HTML forms. And it's like, that looks good enough for me. First name, last name, submit. Let me go with this basic one. So I'm going to hit try it myself. And I'm going to copy this form section. All right. And I'm going to go back in here into my index. And, I'm sorry. I'm going to save and close it. I want to go back into my Contact Me HTML page. And I'm just going to copy this entire form here. Let's see, where is that at? Let's close these out. There we go. So it has to, I'm going to create this basic structure. Now, ideally, you should type it and make mistakes and whatever. But just to expedite time of the video, I'm going to paste that inside of here. And notice that it's actually looking for a form action.php page. We're going to edit this later with the name of our PHP page, but for now, so this is not HTML forms. This is contact us form, right? Form. Let's get rid of forms. And it has a first name label, and then here's that input box, right? Called F name. This is all important. L name. I'm going to space these out so you can see that a little bit in your first name. And let's actually not space that one out. Let's space this one out. And then here's our submit button. And you could, and generally a good idea, so if somebody looks at your code, you could say, you know, this is my submit button. You can comment all this stuff out. And this is my submit button. Let's make sure we have 2 dashes here. Boom. And you can copy and paste this. And then we had created, and if we wanted to put an image here, we had the image from the other page. But for now, let's just save and close this, and let's go back. Refresh this, and you can see contact us form, John Doe, submit. It's going to error out because we don't have the action.php page. Do you see that? And when somebody, the reason why in a portfolio website you want this to be active is you want people to be able to look at it and inspect and see your code if they're a potential employer. So that's it for now. I know that was a little long.